Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. This morning, we're talking about insurance, but more specifically, Medicare. If you have Medicare or someone you love has Medicare, and you're trying to figure out how to navigate it, how to understand which part is going to be most helpful and what you should do, well, this is a conversation that you absolutely must stay on point for. Our guest this morning is Stephen Adams. He is the owner of Cenla Independent Insurance Agency, and he makes Medicare easy.
I try to. I have been told that's what separates me from everyone else, is that I can explain something pretty complicated pretty easily where most people can understand it.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, Stephen, we want to welcome you to the OPT Network because we understand just how complicated insurance and navigating insurance can be. So before we start breaking down Medicare and helping people understand what they need for where they are, why did you decide to focus in on Medicare?
I've always had a passion of working with seniors. I was raised by grandparents, and my two great-grandmothers lived behind my grandparents. They each took care of their mothers. So I got to be raised around my great-grandmothers.
Wow.
And then my grandparents were pillars in the community. They took care of, different people. We'd bring them supper at night, widowers that were friends of my grandpa, or, so I just have always had that passion of helping the seniors. I think a lot of times they get left out, and not a lot of people focus on that, seniors. So people are living longer than ever before, too. So it's a different type of planning that we have to do for them now. Typically, when this Medicare, the life expectancy of a female might be 79 and a man 75 or 77. Now, a female that turns 65 today's life expectancy is 89.
Wow.
And a man is 87 and a half. So that's a lot of years to, be on Medicare, typically. So it might be the plan that they have for the rest of their life. Is the Medicare.
And what we're finding with a lot of our seniors is that when they are ready for Medicare, oftentimes they're on fixed incomes.
Yes.
That don't afford for a lot of extra, but they might need extra. So let's talk about the plans. There are so many parts to the plans, and it's complicated for seniors to understand. So how do you begin to explain what would be the best policy for that person?
So I go at it as education. My job, number one job, is to educate seniors on the parts of Medicare. So I look at each situation differently. So the way we start that is, what I do is I explain the different parts of Medicare to people. I educate them on what their choices are, and then I guide them and help them from there. So we contract with every Medicare carrier in the state of Louisiana for Medicare Advantage, Medicare drug plans, and then we do a lot of Medicare supplements as well. So whenever you write all the different Medicare plans, we get paid the same amount no matter what plan someone goes on. They don't have to pay us. The insurance companies pay us. So we just want to get them in the right plan that they fit in, for that. And it depends on who your doctors are, what your medications are. A husband and a wife. The husband may have certain health conditions and the wife doesn't, so it would be a different plan that he fits best on versus the same plan his wife went on.
So are you having sit downs with more seniors to say, okay, because I think that with all of the ads and everything that is coming at us, because I know my mom is a senior, and she'll see something on TV and she'll say, I think I'm going to get this, or I think that this would work for me. And ads are created to drive you to whatever good and service is being sold, but that may not be something.
It might not be what's in their best interest. So all the commercials and stuff, you call 1-800 numbers, you're not sure who you're talking to on the other end of that phone. I mean, I've seen so many scams, happening, and then I'll see people, and it's not a scam, they enroll them in a plan, a Medicare plan, but it might not be the right one for them. I see that a lot. So when you're working, like I know one of the main call centers is in Florida, and all that call center sells is Humana. So Humana's a good plan. I write Humana, but it's not always the best one. But it's the only one that those folks write. So of course it's the best plan when you're that. But it depends on who your doctors are or what plans that they take. And I know seniors don't like to change their doctors a lot of times, so that's very important. And dealing with a local agent here in town, you have a place to go, a brick and mortar location. I always say, if you can't look them in the eye, don't buy. Because you never know who you're talking to other than that phone. We are held to a lot higher standard. I can't hide from you.
Right, because you live and worship and do business in this community.
That's right. I have a brick and mortar location. And if I make a recommendation to someone, 6 months later, they come to me, I'm accountable for that. I have to know why I made that decision, So that's why I like to give them choices and I educate them. And if you educate them right and explain it, by the end of the process, they know which plan they want to go on. And, which one they should do.
Right, which one is going to be best for them. So let's talk about the parts of Medicare, because I think often that's where a lot of the confusion comes in.
Yes.
Okay, let's break down the parts.
So you have Original Medicare, which consists of Medicare Part A and Medicare Part B. Medicare Part A usually doesn't cost anything. It usually has zero premium on there. Medicare Part A covers hospital and hospital services such as hospice and things like that. Part A does have an annual deductible of around $1,400 or so.
A year?
A year for Part A for hospitals. Then Medicare Part B is the medical insurance for doctors, testing, surgeries, that kind of stuff. The standard premium for 2021 for Medicare Part B is $148.50. So per month.
Okay.
That's for Medicare Part B, as in boy.
Okay.
They usually deduct that out of your Social Security check if you draw Social Security. If you're not on Social Security, then you mail in a payment each quarter, so every 3 months. There are certain people that don't have Social Security, like they're retired from the state or something like that, where they have to mail in those premiums. So that's Original Medicare Part A and B.
Okay.
Part B has a small deductible for 2021 of $203.
Okay.
But once you pay that $203, then Medicare pays 80% and you pay 20%.
Of whatever
whatever happens, whatever the cost is. So let's say you had to have open heart surgery.
They're going to pay 80%.
They're going to pay 80% and you pay 20%. The
But 20%, I was going to
20% of open heart surgery is a good chunk of money.
Right.
And the flaw with Original Medicare is there's no cap on that 20%. It could be 20% of a liver transplant.
Right.
So it could be a lot. So that's where, a Medigap policy comes into play.
Okay, hold that thought. Let me get a break here, but let's really go slowly through it so people can digest it. Because that 80-20 sounds good on its face until you have to have a procedure that could be so encompassing that you can't pay the bill. So when we come back, we're going to talk about what could go along with A and B that could help to defray your medical costs. This morning, we're talking about Medicare, breaking it down, and a local agent right here in Central Louisiana, Alexandria more specifically, but serving Central Louisiana, is going to break it down and tell you what you need to make your life better in terms of insurance. Stay on point. We're back right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. I always say knowledge is power. Well, it only becomes powerful when you have it and you use it. If you're one of those people that is struggling to understand your Medicare and you're not getting the services that you really feel like you should get, or you're paying too much, our guest this morning is here to help start the process of breaking it down into bite-sized pieces and making it more understandable. His name is Stephen Adams, and he is the owner of Cenla Independent Insurance Brokers. So, Stephen, before we went to break, we were talking about that 80-20 mix. Right. And 20% on its face, it could wipe a lot of people out.
Oh, yeah.
And most seniors, one of the things, and I know my mother is like this, that she prides herself on, is not taking those medical bills and throwing them in the trash.
Yeah.
They want to pay their bills.
Yes. They do.
But it can be very, very hard. So there is something that could come in and buffer that 80%. What is it?
Yeah. Well, there's a few ways to cover that. I'm going to go back to that 20% though. So when it really becomes tough for somebody that's on a fixed income that doesn't have a lot of budget or savings, is when you go into, say, a testing facility and they say, okay, we need our $203 deductible
That's
for
right.
Part B, then 20% of an MRI is not cheap either.
Right.
You know? So that's what gets me the most there is that's diagnostic testing.
Right.
You don't want to wait for that stuff. That's something you need to get done then.
Right.
You know, which, you know, if they let them come into that testing center until they pay a lot of times.
Right. Then that's a test that you won't have because I don't have that disposable $200 or $300
That's right.
there off the top. Okay. So a lot of people are faced with that.
Yes.
What do we do?
So then the next thing with Medicare from original Medicare Parts A and B did not cover drugs either. So in the early 2000s, they came out with the Medicare drug plan where they outsourced it to an insurance company approved by Medicare. Currently, there's 26 different prescription drug plans. So that's where the drug portion comes from. Now I'll go back to that 20% again. So a Medicare supplement or a Medigap policy fits along with that.
Medigap.
So Medicare supplement.
It comes in the gap.
It fills in that 20% gap.
Okay.
So the most popular plan is Plan G.
Plan G.
Yes.
I've never heard of Plan G.
I like Plan G. The best, you pay a monthly premium. Someone turning 65, it's, you know, a female is usually a little bit less than $100 a month. A male is usually between $100 and $110 a month when they turn 65. That Medigap policy, that Plan G, it pays the Part A deductible, pays 100% of that. So that $1,400 and something dollars, it pays that for you.
Okay. That $150 or so?
No, the Plan G, it'd be less than that at 65.
Oh, at 65. Okay.
Yep. So the Plan G also pays the 20%. So the only thing they pay is the $203 deductible. Then the supplement or the Medigap policy kicks in and pays it the rest of what Medicare doesn't cover. There used to be a plan available called a Plan F. The Plan F was just like the Plan G, except for you did not have to pay the $203 deductible. It even paid that. But I didn't write the Plan F even when it was available because F was typically $500 to $600 more a year than Plan G.
Okay.
And the only difference was that $203. So you were better off paying that small deductible. And that's probably the reason why they don't offer Plan F anymore. You know, so that's Plan G also pays 100% of the excess charges. So what are excess charges?
That's what I was
another
gonna ask,
complicated
right.
thing with Medicare. So the best doctors may charge more than Medicare pays. You know, so they can do up to 15% more than Medicare. So if Medicare says, hey, this is $1,000, you know, is what we pay for this particular procedure.
And that's all we pay.
That's right.
But the doctor charges
doctor
more.
Can say, hey, I'm charging $1,150, and the Plan G and the Plan F pays those excess charges. The other Medicare supplement plans do not pay the excess charges. So you could still get billed, and it doesn't cover the whole 20% or what you think it was going to cover there.
And then you're thinking, well, I shouldn't have gotten a bill for this.
That's
My
right.
insurance should have paid for
Should
it.
have paid it. That's right.
But it didn't. And so I know that people are sitting and they're watching and they're wondering, well, do I have the right program? Because I really don't understand all of the parts. What do you say to that person?
I would say you're like a lot of people because it's statistically only 17% of people who have Medicare are in the best plan for them.
Only 17%?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I'm going to go back to Part D drug coverage.
Okay.
So that fits along with
This
original
makes my
Medicare.
brain go tilt, tilt, tilt because there's so many parts and I'm writing them down so that I can try to help people to keep up with them. But how do you keep up with it?
It's educated on it, you know, and those seniors, we have a training process for those folks where we go over Part A and then Part B. And then,
So does everybody typically have A and B?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, technically, Part B is not mandatory.
Okay.
That $148.50, a lot of people see that and say, well, if it's not mandatory,
I'm not going to get
Part
it.
B.
Right.
Well, then something happens to them and they need Part B. You can't just go enroll in Part B anytime you want to. You have to wait until between January the 1st and March 31st to enroll back in Part B. Then Part B doesn't start until July.
Oh, wow.
So it's very important that you get Part B as well, because you have to have Part B to get that Medigap policy.
Okay.
So they want.
And the Medigap is the piece that's going to
that
kick.
pays the 20%.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
So now back on the drug coverage, why you should shop that each year is
Each year
between October the 15th and December the 7th. Shop your drug plan. If you're on original Medicare, shop the drug plan. First of all, your health needs may change. What happens? You get prescribed different prescriptions.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. Is I like to meet with my clients once a year and look at their prescriptions and see if any of that's changed. The insurance companies themselves may change their formularies. So in 2020, a drug might have been a tier 1 generic that was $3.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in 2021, that might have went to a tier 3 drug that's $40 copay. Yes. Or they could take
within a year.
Yeah. Yep. They change each year. That's why. Or they may take a drug off of a formulary or add one on there.
Mm-hmm.
So, first of all, your health needs change. Your prescriptions can change. And the insurance companies themselves, drug formularies change from year to year. A lot of people say, all right, well, I've had this drug plan and it's been working for me. Then so they don't shop. They don't look at anything during the enrollment time. They go to the pharmacy to get their diabetes medicine. They're like, get sticker shock.
Right.
Because that drug is no longer covered, or instead of it being a tier 2, it's a tier 4, so that's why it's very important to shop those drug plans.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, to kind of sum it up, what we've talked about so far today is just original Medicare. And
just
original. With original Medicare. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so this is not even going outside
of original Medicare, other than the outside company being the Medigap company
mm-hmm.
and the drug company.
Okay. So for Medigap, is that also going to be a different company? Let's take a break here and let's break down the companies, because I can feel people saying, okay, well, I've got Humana mm-hmm. or I've got Vantage. Am I with the right company, and do I have all of these pieces?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And how do I know? Stephen Adams is our guest this morning, and he really is helping us to understand that you have a policy in place and maybe it has worked, but if it hasn't, it really begs the idea of looking at what you have versus what you may need in this upcoming enrollment period. Stay on point. We're back with more right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. This morning, our guest is Stephen Adams. He is the owner of Cenla Independent Insurance Brokers. Now, for the purpose of this conversation, we are talking about Medicare, but he does a vast array of insurances, and we'll touch on that a little bit more. But for our seniors and people who care for our seniors, and none of us really understand what our parents or our grandparents need. We just try to guess and hope that, let me just say, I try to guess and hope that I'm right. And so this conversation is really, really important for me as well. So we talked about the major parts, mm-hmm. A and B. You need both of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you deal with a list of insurance companies.
Yes.
And I know people are saying, okay, well, I have this company or that company. Are they the best company for where I am today? What do you say to those people?
So back to where we're talking about original Medicare now, mm-hmm. a Plan G Medicare supplement, no matter what carrier it's with, pays exactly the same. The difference is the premiums, So one company's Plan G,
So now we're shopping the company that gives us the best premium for
correct.
G.
That's correct. Yep. And not only the best premium, I also look at rate increase histories, because that Medigap policy, like let's say someone has health issues, they're diabetic, or they have heart issues, or they need eye surgeries or something like that. 3 months before you get Medicare Part B, or 3 months before you turn 65, the month you get Part B, and 3 months after. So there's a 7-month window right there where it's guaranteed issue. That means no matter what kind of health conditions you have, they have to issue that policy to you.
But now, didn't that did Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act, did that not correlate?
That did not
With
correlate
Medicare?
with Medicare supplements. It did not.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
It did change a lot in Medicare, especially the preventative services and stuff like that happened. But when it comes to that Medigap policy, you have that guaranteed issue window. So if I have someone that comes in that's really sick and they want that Medicare supplement, that might be the only opportunity in their lifetime to be issued, because after that 7-month window, they have to pass medical underwriting.
Really?
Correct. So
now this is about pre-existing conditions. When if you're 65 and plus, if you don't have pre-existing conditions, you're the exception and probably not the rule.
Yeah. And Medicare covers all pre-existing conditions, but
not the Medigap.
That Medigap policy, once you're approved, they pay and all. But if you're outside of that guaranteed issue period, they could decline you. So when I'm with someone who I know is sick and that needs a lot of healthcare stuff, I'm not looking at just the cheapest plan then. I'm looking at the rate increase history, because I see some people at 65, that plan cost them $80 a month. Now they're 75 and it's $400 a month. And they cannot change because of their health conditions to a new supplement. So if I have someone that's sickly that comes in at 65 and I've only got that one bite at the apple on the guaranteed issue side, I want to look at rate increase history, because it's likely the one you'll have for the rest of your life. So the lowest rate increase history in the industry as far as Medicare supplements goes is United Healthcare, the one that's backed by AARP. They have small increases each year. Aetna's another one that I do a lot of on the Plan G original Medicare side.
But so does the Plan G only kick in for those people who, do we start at 65? What about the senior that's 75 or 85 that hadn't heard about it?
If they haven't heard about it and they've never had one before, then they have to pass medical underwriting for that to get that Plan G.
And so what does that really mean? Pass medical underwriting? Because at that age, you're going to have something.
A lot of times, yes. Now, we're talking serious health problems. You need one that's very common that people get declined from all the time that are healthy people is they need cataract surgery or the lens implants or something like that. And they will decline you if you have a surgery that's coming up or something. If you're, say, 70 years old and you're wanting to purchase a supplement because it's going to be a lot of out-of-pocket costs with that surgery that you're having, they wouldn't issue that.
So is there another option?
Yes, there is.
For people other than G?
Yes.
Okay, what is that?
So what I've talked about so far in the segment is original Medicare. So that's one option for someone who's getting Medicare to go, is they can stay on original Medicare. So original Medicare is Part A and B.
Right.
Then you purchase a separate drug plan, a Part D drug plan, and then you purchase a Medigap policy to go along with that.
Okay.
So you pay that fixed cost each month, whether you use it or not. And you just know that the most out of pocket you would have in a year is that $203 for the deductible and paying your premiums. Now let's talk about Part C of Medicare.
Okay.
So we went over A, B, and D. So Part C of Medicare, this is what you're seeing all the commercials about. This is what your phones are ringing off the wall trying to tell you about. This is what's filling your mailbox up every day, is Medicare Advantage or Medicare Part C. So what a Medicare Advantage plan is they often refer to them as Medicare replacement plans. So instead of that person going on Medicare A and B and D and purchasing a supplement, they can go on Medicare Advantage or Medicare Part C. Most of those plans have no premium each month. Now,
Part C?
Part C.
Okay.
Yeah. So Part C is a combination of Part A, Part B, and Part D into an all-in-one plan called a Medicare Advantage plan. Currently, there's 7 or 8 companies that write Medicare Advantage plans in the state of Louisiana. Now, why are they doing this? They're privatizing Medicare. So remember I told you on original Medicare how they outsourced the drug portion to an insurance company approved by Medicare? On Medicare Part C or Medicare Advantage, they outsource all of it to an insurance company approved by Medicare. And then that insurance company sets up benefit structures that include, like it's a copay. Most of them don't have any deductibles on the medical portion of it. So for instance, Vantage Health out of Monroe, Louisiana. They are one of the companies that have Medicare Advantage plan. Well, to go see your primary care doctor is a zero copay. You don't have to pay anything as many times as you go.
As long as you're in their network.
That's right, as long as you're in their network. A specialist is a $35 copay.
Okay.
Then these Medicare Advantage plans add dental, vision, hearing, transportation, over-the-counter medications. And I have seen each year that these Medicare Advantage plans are getting better and better and better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why there's so much marketing around it and all, is it's saving Medicare. Medicare, the flaw with it is fraud, waste, and abuse, you know, where billing for services not rendered, you know, durable medical equipment that wasn't needed. And original Medicare is so big that it's hard to manage those claims on a smaller basis. The insurance companies are used to dealing with doctors and hospitals and pharmacies to negotiate lower rates. So that plan might not have any premium on there, but Medicare is paying the insurance company to take care of the person on Medicare. It's really neat. So they're trying to privatize Medicare. The difference there, that's where I find that most people get confused at, is the difference between original Medicare and the products that go along with original Medicare, which consists of Part A, Part B, Part D for drugs, and then a supplement. They get confused with that and Medicare Advantage. Medicare Advantage is not a Medicare supplement plan. It's not like an 80-20 or something like original Medicare. It's a private health insurance
So it's
company.
something all of its own.
It's all of its own. Yes, ma'am. That's
so
right.
it has nothing to do with A, B, and D.
Well, to get Medicare Part C, you have to have Medicare A and Medicare B
Okay.
to get it. So, and for most people, that still means paying the $148.50.
Right, which you
Part A
have that
premium.
if you're 65 and older anyway.
Yes.
Basically.
Yep.
And so now when you move to Advantage, you're moving to a company
That's right.
that is separate and independent of.
That's right. And it's a lot like our individual insurance that we have, or the group insurance when you're working. So I'll get a lot of seniors in that have been working for a company for many years. And the way group health insurance works is they must pay half of the employee's cost of insurance. Well, a 64-year-old man, his insurance is $1,600 a month, you know?
Right.
So the company has to pay at least half of that, and then a lot of times they're paying the other half. Some companies pay all of it. You know, they're not mandated to. A lot of them just pay half. So it's just like that private health insurance plan that you have, where you have a network that you go to doctors that are in that network. And some of them you can go out of network but pay a higher cost. It's the same with these Medicare Advantage plans. So
Sure.
I find that people that are aging into Medicare and just getting Medicare, most of them are going with a Medicare Advantage plan with no premiums, and they're already used to networks and copays and stuff like that from their group plans. So they're like, wait, I'm getting a plan here that has no deductible, a max out of pocket of $3,400 a year, and I don't pay anything for that? It's better than my group policy.
Right.
And I say, yeah, that's right.
Wow.
That's correct.
Let's do this. Let's take a break here. But when we come back, I'm going to talk about how, if this conversation intrigues you and you're probably maybe not with the right insurance company, or you don't have the right benefits, how you can sit down and have a personal conversation with Stephen, and how he can walk you through to make sure that you are in the best plan for yourself and your loved ones. Stay on point. We're back with more right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. This morning, I feel like we're all sitting in a classroom. And what Stephen is masterful at doing is breaking it down so that we can really understand where we are, what we have, and what we need. And I was telling Stephen during the break, sometimes my mom, who's a senior, will see a commercial on TV, and that commercial is usually probably Joe Namath or Tom Selleck, very familiar, very trusted faces. And sometimes she may say, you know, they said such and such. I think I need to get that. What do you think? Well, I don't know. So tell us about all of these ads.
So one of them that sticks out to me is that ad that says you may not have to pay that $148.50 each month for Part B. You may be eligible for a buyback program,
or it's free,
or this is you get free this or free hearing aids or free dental. You hear that free over and over. Well, one that gets me the most is that $148.50. So in order to not
speak
have
to the
pay
$148.50, because the $148.50 is really important.
Yeah. And a lot of people say, oh, wow, if I don't have to pay that, then, that's an extra $150 a month. So the $148.50, to see if you're eligible not to have to pay that, because there are people who financially qualify not to have to pay that.
Okay.
So let's say
who are those people generally?
It's income based. So let's say that you have a single person that's a 70-year-old female. She gets $1,400 a month. Well, she may qualify for extra help for Part D, which means they pay the drug plan premium, and they cap their out-of-pocket cost at $3.20 for a name brand, $9.70 for a generic $3.20, a name brand $9.70. So with those extra help programs that they may be eligible for, could lower the cost of their drug stuff. Then there's a program called QMB, Qualified Medicare Beneficiary. Those people there, let's say $1,100 or $1,200 a month range, then they wouldn't have to pay the Part B premium of $148.50. So most people, don't qualify for that not having to pay $148.50. But when you call into that commercial, they get all of your information from you, and they could switch you to a plan which would kick you off of the plan that you're on. You can't have two Medicare Advantage plans at one time. So a lot of times I'll have a customer that's in a Medicare Advantage plan that we went down that path and we know that's the best one for them.
Right.
But they are having to pay that $148.50. So they see that commercial, they call that number, they give them all their information. Next thing you know, they're enrolled with, say, Humana or another insurance plan. Unbeknownst to them, correct. So it disenrolls them. They may have Aetna's Freedom PPO plan, that has $750 a year of dental on it. Well, they saw this commercial over here that might have $2,000 worth of dental. Well, they call to inquire about it. They get enrolled in that plan. It kicks them off the other plan. Wow. Because you can't have two at one time. So wow. I can tell you an experience that I ran into just a couple weeks ago. There's a local gentleman. He's retired Air Force. He went all the way through the ranks up to E9. Then he became a commissioned officer. He's 79 now. After he retired out of the Air Force, he worked for the VA hospital for about 15 years and was a PhD. He was in the military and retired, so he has something called TRICARE for life for he and his spouse, where they have Medicare and then TRICARE pays everything else. Right. Well, they got a telephone call at their house. They did need extra dental insurance. They thought they were getting a dental plan. They actually got enrolled into an HMO plan, which made him lose his TRICARE. Wow. Yes.
So if that happens and you don't know because you've called this number and you get switched not knowing, can you now switch back at a certain point?
That's tricky sometimes too. So you can withdraw the application, which for that gentleman there, it had been, it had only been about 60 days or so. He found out when he went to his doctor that he'd been going to for 20 years, and his doctor says, "Oh, I don't take this. I can't see you." And then like, what? So we were able to get, take that application out of the system.
But you've got to first find somebody like yourself that can get down to the bottom of, okay, you made a phone call, they switched you. Now all of the insurance that you had has changed.
Has changed, correct, yes.
And you gave your information to this person.
Yeah, they gave their information to that person. It was a husband and wife both did. And I can say that this was just a God thing how I met this gentleman. He's a pastor, and he has a church over in Wardville. And we, with United Way, sponsored a health fair at that church. And we didn't have a huge turnout or anything, but I was there for him and his wife.
You were there. It was a divine appointment.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was talking about this stuff. After that, wife pulls me off the side, tells me what happened. I said, oh, my God. That's so unethical to enroll someone who has TRICARE for life into that plan.
Right.
You know,
who does that? Who would do that?
Somebody over the phone that's
Right.
not held accountable.
Right.
You know, and they had been trying to cancel this and fix this, but couldn't get in touch with that person, or they wasn't there anymore, and we're just getting the runaround, you know. And I happened just to be at his church that day, and it happened to be where we were still within the time limits of doing that. But oftentimes I'll see people that retired from the state that have state group. Well, they enroll in some plan like that. They lose their state group. Once you leave it, you can't go back a lot of times when you leave those retiree group plans. So there's a lot of cases where I get someone in my office. I go over all the different parts of Medicare with them to educate that on it, see what they have, and I tell them, good thing you're with me, because a lot of people would have switched you. You're in your best case scenario. You know, you're in what you need to be, and you need to stay there, you know. So back to the pastor I was telling you about. So we got him out of that plan.
So you were able to get him out.
We were able to get him out of that plan. And, you know, we don't get paid to sell TRICARE. That's not something we do. But it was the right thing for that couple, is to keep the TRICARE. You know? Right.
I mean, TRICARE is something you work for your whole life.
He earned that. He went to Vietnam a couple of times, and you know, was in the military.
I didn't know that you could lose your TRICARE.
Yeah, you can. Well, it replaces that. I've had other situations where someone had state group and didn't cancel state group, but enrolled in one of those a Medicare Advantage plan, which takes over. And that plan is just pretty much useless because they can't use two of them at one time. And they cancel that state group plan, then they can't get back into it a lot of times. You know?
Wow. So before we've got to let you go, Stephen, this is a lot, and we'll have you back because open enrollment is going to be coming up in October. And not just for Medicare, for the purpose of this conversation this morning, we're talking about Medicare, but you handle the gamut when it comes to insurance. So for people that say, Stephen, you've got my attention, I really need help, what do people need to do to set up an appointment and start the conversation?
Just give us a call, 318-704-6200, or you can stop by our location at 5208 Jackson Street, Suite C. We are right next door to Sonic on Jackson Street. So if you know where Sonic's at, you can find us.
Absolutely. This is really, it's a lot to digest, but you have given it to us in a way that we can understand it. And most importantly, hopefully people won't fall into those traps.
Well, like I say, you know, why do it over the phone and all that whenever you have someone with a brick and mortar location right here in Central Louisiana that you can come to, look us in the eye. And
if anything goes wrong, you can come back and look you in the eye.
Absolutely.
Know where to find you.
They can find me. I cannot hide. I can't hide. So they can definitely find me. And then, too, people call into these companies and they might get routed around to different customer service people. The other day, I was talking to someone in the Philippines for, you know, with somebody on that. So when you got that local agent that you can go sit down in front of, you know, it makes things a lot easier for you.
Absolutely. Stephen, thank you for taking the time, because this has been, like I said, indeed, it's been a lesson. If you or someone you care about is having any of these challenges that we talk about or we've talked about this morning, Stephen makes it easy. Start with scheduling an appointment, taking the time to sit down and make sure that you or someone you love is in the right plan. Our guest this morning, Stephen Adams, Cenla Independent Insurance Brokers. Stay on point, everybody. We're back right after this.